Hey Pisces, how are you? So we've got the new moon in Pisces coming up on the 28th of February. And this is a big one because it's in your first house. I mean, this is quite an important, I would say, new moon for you. And this forecast is here to really give you all the tips and tricks that you need to go through this next 2-week period. So this is a forecast taking you from the new moon in Pisces right the way through to the total lunar eclipse in Virgo on the 14th of March, really linking in the whole waxing moon phase into one. So there's going to be a lot of things that I talk about. And one of the big themes with this is, who are you and what are you projecting into the world? I really see that as being one of the key things. And also the link of how home fits into that. You know, one of your rulers is Neptune. I'll be talking about Neptune throughout this reading. But the other one is Jupiter. And Jupiter is actually in a square to the new moon and also to the full moon. So he's going to really come into this playbook, I guess, for your next 2 weeks ahead. Just before I get going, I really want to kind of bring home what this phase is about, from your new moon in Pisces on the 28th of Feb to the total lunar eclipse full moon in Virgo on the 14th of March. It is a phase where the moon is getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and there's more and more light. So as you can see, as we're starting this, we're in this place of blindness almost. And I don't mean to say we're blind, because that makes it sound as if we're missing something, and we're really not. But the new moon is like a clean slate. You know, there's nothing there necessarily to grip onto, but we can tune into our intuition, our dreams, our hopes, and start to bring forward the idea of how we'd like to feel. So I really think that this is a manifestation time. It's a time to tune into what feels is going to fill us up and really help us. And then as we're going through, you'll see there's this first quarter phase in the waxing moon. And the first quarter phase is where there's an equal amount of light and dark, you know, where this is literally like a half moon, I guess you could say. And so this is a decision point in your 2 weeks. It's right in the middle on the 7th of March. And it recognizes that you're coming out of this sort of unconscious phase, you know, where you're unconsciously creating things for yourself, and also maybe creating things quietly for yourself, like quietly intentioning. It's a very gentle time leading up to this first quarter phase. And then we're coming into the real sort of enormity of the growth cycle, where we start to push ahead, where people can see it's more visible what we're trying to bring into the world. And then, you know, it's there, it's out there, it's full, it's obvious to see at the time of the full moon. And of course, by that time, the energies are really sort of like coming in. And that's why a lot of people feel quite overwhelmed at the time of the full moon. So this is what I'm talking about. So, you know, the time of the new moon in Pisces, which is really special to you, this is a time to really focus on what you're wanting to bring in, so that you can, over the next couple of weeks and beyond that, given that we're coming up to an eclipse that really magnifies its impact. But, you know, what are you creating for now and over the next few months? It's a big one for you. Before we actually look at a chart, I also want to just show you what it looks like laid out in the diary. You know, the new moon in Pisces starts on the Friday. The total lunar eclipse is 2 weeks later, and this 7th of March is right slap bang in the middle. There's a few other things that I will be talking about of particular interest. Venus going retrograde and Mercury going into Aries, the 2nd and 3rd of March are really they carry a lot of impact. I do think a lot of changes are going to come in around that time, and then their subsequent conjunction on the 11th is really I think important. It's really helping us to talk to ourselves, to really hear our inner mind. I think that's going to be helpful. We've also got a couple of really strong things going on with the sun. So the sun in a trine to Mars and the sun in a conjunction to Saturn. So we'll be talking about those two. So let's have a look at a chart now and go a little bit deeper into these themes. So I've got two charts laid out for the Pisces. So you can see you've got a lot of stuff here in this very important part of your chart, which is known as the first house. So this is the new moon energy for the first house. And then as we go into our second week from the 7th, it's even more focused in this area. And of course, I don't actually have a chart for the last. That will form the next reading that I release in a couple of weeks' time. But essentially, the moon starts off here, and in the course of the 2 weeks, the moon comes right the way round. And so the emphasis is on the first house and the 7th house. And the first house is all about you and like your image, your identity, what you really think about yourself and how you come across to people. It also looks at your body, like what's going on in your body right now. I imagine there's quite a few changes. And then over here is everyone else, how you see everyone else, the people in your life, your partners, everything that is not you in terms of people are over here. And this is you, this is them. So I also see that this is almost like a mirror. I've not met many astrologers or spoken to many astrologers that say that, the 7th house is a mirror. But, whatever you see in other people, I think is what you attribute outside of yourself. So, for instance, if you see that the people around you are quite Virgoan, they're quite organized, they are quite earthy, they look after their bodies quite well. By inference, you're implying that that's something that doesn't also belong in your repertoire. I think we are all whole people. We've got all the potentials within our charts. They all exist there. That all of the different signs show up in your charts. But what happens in our 7th house is there's aspects that we can't seem to attribute to ourselves, that we're always pushing on other people. So I do think this is a place of smoke and mirrors. And where we are projecting. So I think there's going to be some really sort of interesting interplays between you and other people, and also with Jupiter in a square to the new moon and also in a square to the full moon. There's a lot going on from this home perspective here where Jupiter is. So anyway, let's look a bit deeper. So I've already just mentioned a little bit about the placements of the new moon and the full moon. But I really do want to pay attention to your 2 rulers and then Mercury and Venus. Now, I think it would be easy to just set the scene here that something big is happening this year. I'm pretty sure you know that already from my forecast, but I'm sure you have picked that up from other people's forecasts too. We are in a very, very deep time. And if you look here, there's a lot of stuff in the sign of Pisces, notably long-term residents, Saturn and Neptune. And the North Node is coming through here over the next 17 months now, or 16 months. The North Node is going to be here until, I think, July of 2026. So the North Node's also a long-term resident now. And you've got Mercury, Mercury, the Sun, and the Moon currently in here. Now, over the next couple of months, Neptune's going to go into Aries, Saturn's going to go into Aries. Then in about 6 months, later on, late summer, early autumn, both Neptune and Saturn come back into Pisces. And then in January and February of next year, they're coming back into Aries. In fact, on February the 14th, 2026, both Saturn and Neptune are going to be exactly in a conjunction right on the cusp, just going into Aries. So there's a lot of very intense sort of energy in this area of your life, Pisces. So this is really looking at your body and your identity, like who you think you are and who you think you're becoming. And then this part of your chart here is about your values. How much money you're bringing in. Do you feel wealthy? How do you reward the identity that is you? So it's almost like a development. So it's about the resources that you need. So to me, this is about you deciding who you are. And then what follows from this is resources come to you and you also actively earn them. But it's like the world is interacting with you. To me, it's like you stepping out of your identity and coming into the world a little bit. And so this is big. I don't know what you've been doing in terms of your career or what your life looks like. However, this next year is really going to determine how eligible you are to earn loads of money and to feel quite secure. It's really going to show, the energy you have to accept, receive, and really believe that you are worthy of like great resources, wealth, and also it's the seat of your self-esteem. This is your ideas about yourself, but this is the real knowing of it. This is the action, or this is the outcome of you feeling good about yourself. So I really think there's a lot of inner work going on for you right now, Pisces. And so these two behemoths, Saturn and Neptune, going into Aries is going to be changing your focus. It will feel quite easy at first, I think, because, having these two in your first house can really make you quite critical of yourself, and also bring up lots of questions like, who am I? Which has been a question that's been going on since Neptune has been here, at least the last 6-7 years. That has been quite a question, who am I? Oh my God, I'm going through so many changes. Oh my God, like, you've probably had to boundary yourself quite a lot, because the Pisces energy is so open, and when you've got Neptune in here, it just opens everything up so much, and it could have created a lot of things in your life that you maybe weren't ready for. So yeah, big things happening. But the reason why I want to mention Venus and Mercury, where there it is, is because Venus is currently in the second house, which is great. She helps us to accumulate more in this place and to feel better about ourselves. However, she's going retrograde, and she's going to go retrograde back into Pisces, and then will come direct from the 13th of April. Now, when she's going backwards, she's internalizing everything about your value, everything that she values. So, Venus represents our ability to love and our ability to accumulate and our ability to feel good. And so when she's going retrograde, we're more internalized about it. We are wondering, who do we love? And what qualities do we love in the people that we love? And what do I accumulate in terms of my wealth? And how do I feel about that? So there's a lot of questions and reviews about it. And most likely when she is retrograde, we feel quite nostalgic. And so we attach great value onto times when we felt really good and felt in flow. So I think there's a lot coming up to do with, when did you last feel really like yourself? And when did you really like who you were being? When did you like yourself a lot? So I think there's going to be, in this great review, you're going to be given a lot of information, and if you're not actively doing it yourself, life will give you these opportunities where you do get to review what's going on. And I always think it's easier to go there first rather than have life do it for you, but it's always working. Now, Mercury is about to do the same journey that Venus is doing, but he starts it on the 15th of March. To put it clearly, Venus's retrograde starts on the 2nd and ends on the 13th. These are two brackets of her retrograde. And Mercury is going retrograde in between these two brackets. So he starts it after her and he finishes it before her. But he is starting the retrograde at the same point and going back to the same point. So they are working together. And on the 11th in particular, I really feel that if you take the time to tune in and ask yourself some questions about your satisfaction in life, and, do you feel like, you're on mission, on purpose? Do you feel like you're doing what you're meant to be doing? Or are you on autopilot? I think that's a huge question right now, because for a lot of people, earning money, whilst it seems like an important thing to do, it's not enough to just earn money. For a lot of people, they want to be the person that they're meant to be and to be able to earn money at the same time. So yeah, I suspect you've got a lot of things on your mind as you try to kind of cultivate the life that really gels with the person that you are, which is why right at the start here, I said this is about, who are you? Who am I? Who am I being? Who am I meant to be? And what am I projecting into the world? Because whatever you're thinking about everyone else, all the judgments that you've got for everyone else, is actually what you're not recognizing you've got in yourself. We can be all things at any time. And when we just see it in the people around us, we're almost denying ourselves the opportunity to be, this organized person, like all these Virgos around you. So anyway, it's a big self-discovery that you're on. And if you actively set the scene of who you want to be from the 28th, I really see that the energy is going to come in, and it's going to help you, because as the moon goes round and comes up to the total lunar eclipse in Virgo, it's going to be all about the people in your life. Most likely they will seem a little bit more active and emotional than usual. You may well feel that the people around you are hyper emotional, possibly irrational, actually. I really think the illumination, especially the eclipsed full moon illumination of the Virgoan personality, can bring out possibly a bit of hypochondria. So some of the, almost it brings out a parody of the people that you're viewing. So you might find that people get really into their stories in a way that is a bit unattractive. That might be how you're perceiving it. And of course, if that's happening, you might choose to ask yourself, well, how am I also doing that as well? It's swings and roundabouts with this, but it's really bringing up things to do with relationships. Now, midway through on the 7th, we've got the moon coming into a conjunction with Jupiter, should bring in a feeling of well-being, which should be really good. But you've got Jupiter all this time making a square to the new moon and the full moon. And Jupiter, he's in your 4th house. So during this time, he's usually making your living circumstances more important. You might have found that you've been through some shifts since he's been in Gemini, maybe more people coming in to live in your home, or this feeling like we've got too big for our home. There's a lot going on. Jupiter makes things enormous quite quickly. And if you've got situations with your family at home, they can get quite amplified and inflamed. So there's a lot of big themes coming up. Now, I think what Jupiter's role here is to help you see things so much that you can't unsee them. So, for instance, you might get this feeling of, yeah, this is who I am, and yet I don't fit in at home. Or this is who I am, but my home doesn't support me. Or look at all the people I live with, my family, who are showing up here. Why are they so emotional, and how does that affect our home? So can you see how Jupiter is bringing in this extra element? And again, that extra element helps you define who you are. Now, a couple of last things I do want to just share, and that is there are some lovely supportive times. So the Sun in a trine to Mars. Mars had been retrograde for 2 months, from the 6th of just over 2 months, from the 6th of December. He just went direct from the 24th of February. He's making a lovely trine to the Sun and Moon, and also to Saturn. He is actually really helping you to define yourself through creativity. So anywhere where you've held back on your creativity, where you've wanted to do things but felt stopped, where you've wanted to connect, it's also quite romantic. It's bringing in a kind of sexual romance, a kind of initiative kind of feeling, almost like you can restart. So if you are in a long-term relationship, you might find that you can reinvigorate your love life, which is obviously a creative energy. But using your creative energy during this time will help you get back into yourself and know what you're creating. So there you go. I hope that they are some clues and tips for the next 2 weeks ahead, and what you might choose to focus on. If you would like me to do a much deeper dive, I've got a couple of extra things for you up my sleeve. So the first one is a relationship and connection forecast just for you, Pisces. During this time, I am just looking at the romantic potential, what's coming up for you, what's really floating about, how you can create greater intimacy, how you can trust your partners more, and so on and so forth. And that's not all. I've also done a career and ambition reading just for you, Pisces. So this career and ambition, we'll look at, what are you wanting to create Is it the right time to pitch? Do you want to pivot? And things like that. So it's really tightly focused for you, your sign, during this time from the new moon right the way up to the total lunar eclipse. So if you like the sound of that, check that out. You can see all the links below. But anyway, wishing you a phenomenal 2 weeks ahead. This is your new moon. This is the one that's going to bring in all the change. So sending you loads and loads of love. And I can't wait to hear how you're getting on. Lots of love to you. Bye for now.